When God created you, He designed the brain with a reward system. And that is why when you feel a certain kind of pleasure, there is that urge to repeat. There's that urge that comes that wants you to repeat whatever you did. Welcome back. Yeah, this is the episode 3 of our topic, masturbation. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the other episodes. My name is Guise. Today, our first reading is from the book of Proverbs, chapter number 25 and verse 28. The word says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So basically, we are going to talk about self-control. The Bible says that like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So self-control plays a very big role, because when you lack self-control, it's like you have allowed so many things to break into you. You have given leeways for things to just happen in your life, because you have the power to control your life. So the moment you lose that power, that means like you no longer control yourself. You don't have that self-control. Self-control is the ability to control, like the desires, the ability to control what you do. God designed a brain with a reward system. So when a pleasure is repeated, the brain wires it as a survival behavior. Okay, brain is let's say, brain tend to rely on something yenye ni mzuri. Like let's say, I'll give an example with a job. With a job, let's say you're working and you are being paid monthly. So there's a way a brain is wired to that job, in that brain inakuwa inajua like your job, that is the survival tactic. So like you wake up every morning, you know that when I go to this job, this is where I'll get my daily whatever, this is where I'll get food, this is where I'll get school fees. So that is now the survival system, because there is why is it a survival system? When you work and you don't get paid, you automatically get tired of that job. But when you work and you get paid, then you receive that money. When you receive that money, your brain wires it in that you want to look forward to getting the next money. Like, so it's a tendency. So it's repeated. Like, akili yako yuko tu like, when will I get the salary? So akili yako inakwanga kwa hiyo tarehe mnalipwa. Kama mnalipwa tarehe 30, that is where your brain is. Inangojea hiyo siku. So you work, but your brain is on that day. In that, when you don't get paid at such time, you automatically feel disappointed. So when when a pleasure is repeated, so brain inaitumia kama survival behavior. So inaitumia, repeat ni kama, that is how it survives. And habits are not formed by once. Habits are not formed by kufanya tu kitu once. Habit is a process. For you to get into masturbation, wanze kufanya masturbation, it's a very big process. First, it starts with a trigger. There has to be something that triggers you, maybe to think or maybe to start doing the masturbation thing, because you can't do something that you have never thought of. You can't do something that you have never seen. You can't do something that you have never heard of. Like all these things, there has to be something that triggers you. You can get triggers maybe from different things, from maybe, let's say, social media. You are scrolling, then maybe umesoma something like something related to pornography or masturbation, then automatically it triggers you and you have the eager maybe to do it, or maybe to try it, or maybe someone told you a story about it, or maybe you watched a video somewhere, or maybe you've heard of it somewhere. So you can't just start masturbation when you don't even know what masturbation is. For me, when I was introduced to masturbation, someone showed me, mtu alinionyesha. So that is what triggered me. Hiyo ndio kenye ilini trigger to maybe to want to try it out. So there has to be a trigger, there has to be a point of trigger, because you can't know of masturbation if you have not seen it, if you have not heard of it, if you have not read of it. Never. It cannot happen. There has to be something, you have to be taught something for you to know it, or maybe curiosity has to come from somewhere for you maybe to try it out. So the first stage is trigger, then action. After trigger, you'll have the desire, because your trigger will automatically create desire inside you. Then you'll do the action. When you do the action, the next thing is pleasure. The action now, it's the masturbation itself. So it's trigger, then you have the desire now, like you want to try it. Then you do the action, you masturbate. Then the reward. When you masturbate, the reward is now the pleasure. When you masturbate, then you feel that kind of pleasure. Now that is now the reward of masturbation. When you masturbate, the pleasure is the reward, because that is the end goal. When you are masturbating, the end goal is now that you want to feel that pleasure of masturbation. So you do reward. That is the reward. Then after reward, there's the repeat. You cannot repeat when there's no reward. You cannot go to work. You cannot go to work every day when you are not being paid. When you receive the payment, that is the reward. The reward, that is what makes brain to survive. That is what makes the brain to survive such things, such kind of thing. When you masturbate, the pleasure. When you have sex, the end goal is the pleasure. As a man, when you're having sex, the end goal is the pleasure. When you don't have the pleasure, then you will keep like trying until you get the pleasure. And when you don't get that pleasure, then you don't feel that thing is not like what you expected, or maybe what you wanted. So when you get the reward, then you will tend to repeat. And the reward of masturbation is the pleasure, right? When you feel the pleasure, the brain automatically will wire it as a survival tactic. So then you will now want to repeat it. You will want to repeat it because your body wants to feel good. Unaona? Yes. So when you go on with maybe repeating this thing, masturbation, every now and then you find that desire starts to increase. If you are doing it once a week, you feel like you want to do it maybe twice or thrice, then it gets to a point whereby the desire is too much. You want to do it every day. Then the more you do it, is the more the self-control reduce. Then it reaches to a point whereby you can no longer control yourself. So you find yourself doing it everywhere. You're doing it in a matatu, you're doing it in the roads, when you get yourself, maybe hide yourself in the toilet, you do it. That is now the desire has so increased. Then sensitivity decreases. Then when the desire increases, sensitivity decreases. That means you can't be sensitive to so many things. Like you no longer have self-control. You know, self-control is the point of sensitivity. Like it tells you, it triggers your brain and tells you that this is not right. You should control this one. No, wait. So the more you are doing the masturbation, is the more the sensitivity decreases to a point that your brain haiwezi kataa. Unaona, then frequency escalates. That is now what I was talking about, that you are doing it once, now you want to do it twice, then you do it every day, so this is not just spiritual, this is a neurological reinforcement. So it's just like something from the brain. So I'll give an example, like let's say in a city, or maybe let's use State House. State House is very secured. It has a fence all around it, unaona, and the fences are, they make sure that hizo fence ziko very secure, in that hakuna kitu kinaweza ingia ndani. Unaona, and the moment, imagine the moment sasa fence I break, then iwekeka loophole whereby an enemy anaweza ingia. So that is so self-control is like the wall now. The wall that surrounds you, the security that you depend on, is the self-control. So the moment self-control is imepata, like is weakened or is broken, then unapata so many things starts getting into your life. You find that you can't control so many things, because in a State House, when the fence is broken and there's a hole whereby an enemy might get in, then you find now is a risk. Is a risk to the people inside. It is a risk to the president himself, So they have to make sure that the walls are intact, and that is the reason as to why you find people, maybe they are facing their homes because they need the security. The reason for facing a home is for security purposes, for not everybody to get into your compound and do whatever they want to do. So the moment the self-control is weakened, unapata anything can get into your life, anything can come into your life, and you have no power to control it, because you no longer control yourself. So when discipline, self-control is like discipline. So when discipline weakens, discipline is very important in your life. Discipline is very, very important. In fact, that is the key thing in your life. Whenever you want to succeed in anything, if you want to succeed, then you need discipline. So when discipline is weakened, you find that impulse can just invade anywhere, and you'll be broken down. So then our second reading is from the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 7. The verse says, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-control. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-control. So when you have the Spirit of God, it is important. When you have the Spirit of God, you will have the power, you will have love, and self-discipline. So we mostly need the Spirit of God to guide us and to help us, because God did not give us the spirit to be timid, the spirit to be weak. God gave us the spirit of power, and we need that power to manifest in our lives. You understand? Okay, so in our next topic, we are going to talk about the reward system. In the reward system, it is very important to understand maybe how your brain works, how your brain works. There's this part of decision making center, we call it the prefrontal cortex. Then we have the dopamine. The dopamine is now the chemical that the brain releases whenever you feel a pleasure. Whenever there is a pleasure, there's a chemical that brain releases, which is dopamine. So this dopamine, when it is overstimulated, then you find like you will no longer have the self-control. Then we have the prefrontal cortex. This is where now the decision lies, whereby if you want to do something, hiyo part inakwambia like, yes, you want to do it, but it is right, So this is the part that we should work, that people should really work on. There are things like maybe achieving long-term goals. People prefer like pesa, vitu za haraka kuliko long-term things. But one thing that people don't know is that working out on long-term things, or rather waiting for good things is much better. It's a very good exercise for the brain. So we are gonna talk next time. We'll be talking about the reward system of the brain. Reward system of the brain, and that is going to be one nice thing, one very nice thing, and how it affects the masturbation, how it escalates, or how maybe it can help you to reduce this thing called masturbation. Otherwise, thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me out. Yeah, I wish you well, and may God bless you all.